Hey, recently and gleefully, potentially stupidly, I came into possession of a new shiny Fujifilm camera. I'm not going to talk about that camera, which camera it was, how much I love it, how wonderful it is. Instead, I'm going to talk about what other ways could that decision have gone. So this video is for people who are thinking of buying a camera and who are looking at the shiny new cameras, wondering if they really need those, or whether they can potentially be shopping on the used market or looking at some of the second tier models. This isn't specific to Fujifilm at all. I'm a Fujifilm user and I'll explain why later on. So I'm asking forensic questions about my decision now. It was kind of inevitable in my case that I would get that new model, but there's a real problem here, which is that I wasn't asking the right questions. And in hindsight, I could have upgraded to the used model of the one before the one I got, and I would have been just as happy and I would have saved a lot of money. The X-pro3 is the kind of upgrade you don't really just make on a whim. It's planned years in advance by your subconscious, but this is me asking questions to hopefully help you work out whether you need the latest one, which sounds really actually like dumb because it's like someone who just bought a pack of cigarettes telling you not to smoke. But actually I want to roll it way back and just ask whether you need a camera at all. And this is all about your happiness, okay? If you make a wrong decision and spend a lot of money that you don't really have, it's going to affect your happiness because you're not going to have money in the bank to do other things. So we're just going to work out whether you really need to now. Think about what kind of photographs you want to make. If you think it's remotely possible to make those kind of photographs with the camera in your pocket, then I challenge you to take that camera out just one time and try to capture those types of photographs that you want to take, that you imagine you'll be able to take with a new camera. It's quite possible that cameras are capable of more than you think they are because they're always advancing. Okay, I'm going to talk about the iPhone because I'm an iPhone user. I don't know too much about Android, but I know that it's comparable. So whatever I say is going to apply to Android as well as iPhone, I'm pretty sure. So iPhone photos deservedly have a bad reputation. The post-processing process that the iPhone does automatically is very intrusive and destructive. But what you may not know is that the iPhone can shoot RAW. So what you essentially have in this case is a very versatile, albeit small sensor camera. So it's all about knowing what's important to you. So I'm going to give you an example here of how the iPhone worked for me. I did have the Fuji X100S, but I opted to take an iPhone 8 Plus with me to Japan. It was a lot of fun. Now you can't pixel peep in those photos without gagging, but the experience was a buttload of fun. As I went, I was editing my shots in VSCO and posting them in journals, which is a deprecated feature. It's a deprecated feature of VSCO. Unfortunately, it was fantastic. So this afforded me a lot of creativity and I wasn't stuck in a camera. I was literally just snapping, maybe changing exposure by tapping and holding on the iPhone screen. The camera's going to do whatever the hell it wants. You have to trust it. I mean, it's kind of forcing you just to focus on the composition and the subject of your photo and I guess visualizing more, which is the advantage of iPhone photography. So I replicated this in 2019, this time with an iPhone 11. I think you can tell by the photographs how much fun I was having. All right, so let's assume that you've decided that a phone isn't going to cut it. You love cameras and cameras are cool. Before you even start thinking about which camera, keep thinking about the lines that we discussed early on about what kind of photos do you want to take? Why do you enjoy taking photos? Are your photos for you, for others? Why is a phone camera not enough for you? What does your camera need to be able to do well? So here's how that worked out for me. So I know I want to keep exploring a more creative, experimental, abstract style of photography. And I know that that means that I'm going to need to have control over the exposure triangle. I don't know whether it's I'm getting old or... For DSLRs, they just feel too abstract. You got this knob, that knob, turn it this way, that way. You don't even know which way, like it's abstracted from the thing. Having aperture, shutter speed, and ISO all right there, it's more tactile, it's more immediate. This kind of one-to-one photography experience is where Fujifilm is absolutely unmatched, and I feel like they make their cameras for me. I know this excludes a lot of the cheaper bodies that Fujifilm make because they don't have as many dials and knobs. That's fine because those cameras are also made quite cheaply, and I enjoy well-made things. And they also don't have viewfinders, and that's not great because although I don't always use a viewfinder if I have access to a screen, I like to use the viewfinder sometimes, or at least want that choice. But if I still want to save some money, that means I could look at the premium models, but on the used market. So I know that I'd be happy with something like the X-pro2, X100T or F. So this is going back about 5 or 6, 7 years now, models from that era. My reasons for picking up the X-pro3 over the X-pro2 were basically the newer film simulation classic negative and a screen that you can flip down to reveal the LCD or pop it back up to have a completely hidden LCD, giving you a more focused photography experience. I know some people hate this, but I'm down with it. I'm not a rational person. So, I mean, if I were you, I would not stretch your dollars for the latest flagship model unless you know that it comes with something that you need that the older ones don't. We're in an era where any camera from the last 6, 7 years, for most people, is going to probably cut it. Where the improvements are being made right now are really edge case things and video. This is all moot if you've got money to burn. If you've got a lot of money to burn and you've already helped out, refugees and people who actually physically need assistance. Buying a new flagship model, the latest and greatest from your favorite manufacturer, is a vote of confidence in the camera industry and keep that industry going. Otherwise, we'll all be buying used cameras before too long. So now I want to talk about gear acquisition syndrome in the context of your photography. And I'm talking from my own experience, reasons that I've upgraded in the past when I didn't really need to. So I think when you fall victim to this, it's usually because you're lost. And you don't want to believe that what you really need to do is work harder with the gear that you've got. It's really hard to avoid this because photographs are subjective, which means when you're looking at a photograph, you need to be clear about the reason for this photograph having been taken and the intention behind it. And if it wasn't made for you, you're not going to get it. And if you're not getting your own photographs, you're going to be looking at them as if they're meaningless, and you're not going to see the value in them. So for example, take a picture of an old house. Someone just walked up and framed an old house directly in the middle of a picture. If you're not into old houses, or you don't get what this person is saying, maybe he's presenting a record of this house at this time, and just that's what he loves. And if you don't love the same thing, you're going to be like, oh my God, that is an extremely boring picture of an extremely boring house. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're not photographing with intention according to some vision of your own, you're going to be comparing your own photographs out of context, which is probably going to make you feel consistently less than. And a very easy way to deal with this is to open up eBay and look for some gear. In the absence of any well-defined vision or path, looking for more technical improvements is a mentally safe space. And if you don't deal with the underlying causes of gear acquisition syndrome, you're going to be in that space forever, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So this is why knowing what photographs you like to take is really important. A lot of people haven't really worked that out yet. I have not really worked that out yet. I'm kind of exploring, and you don't have to have it worked out, but think about where you want to go. So I know I want to be more experimental with my photographs. I want to be more artistic, abstract. So now when I get my camera, I'm thinking about that. I'm looking for opportunities to learn more about using my camera to create something new. But for you, maybe you're a mad mountain biker, or you love felting. So how could you incorporate your camera into that? Daydream a little, and when an idea takes hold, explore it with your photography, maybe with the camera that you've already got. So logging off, I feel like we came full circle there a little bit. I'll catch you all next time. Oh, thanks for my first 3 subscribers, and to all the people who liked my previous videos. It's amazing to think that they helped you in some way. Okay, until next time.